with your host, Andrew Romanella.
When you play Battle in Mario Kart and you don't turn off any of the items, there are bananas everywhere. I mean, it's like you're losing your balloons because you're slipping on bananas left and right. Bananas everywhere. What's going on, everybody? Welcome in to another edition of The Rome Show here on 12ouncesports.com, broadcasting live on YouTube and X. I am your host, Andrew Romanella. I got you for the next 25 minutes or so, as we do every single day, Monday through Friday. Get in on the action. The social media is The Rome Show on Instagram, Facebook, X, TikTok, whatever social media site you follow. Just follow The Rome Show 1 or 12OZ Sports. 12OZ Sports is the mothership. If you go to youtube.com/12OZ Sports or x.com/12OZ Sports, you can comment live on this show. Yeah, that's right. This show, May 16th, 2025. And we have a charcuterie board for you. National Basketball Association. We got a 6 seed in the conference finals, and we got a 4 seed in the conference finals. We got a game 7 on deck because Denver beat OKC last night. And tonight we got game 6 in Boston, New York Knickerbockers versus the Boston Celtics. We'll break down the National Hockey League as Rocky appropriately predicted live on the show yesterday. The Hurricanes have knocked out the Washington Capitals. It was a late goal last night with 2 minutes remaining in the contest to make it 2-1. Eventually added an empty netter to make it 3-1. And the Carolina Hurricanes are the first team to enter the Eastern Conference Finals in the National Hockey League. So 2 of the final 4 are set in both the National Hockey League and the National Basketball Association. The PGA Championship is going on right now, and some dude named Jonathan Vegas finishes day 1 with a 64 and a -7 for a 2-stroke lead. There's no big names in the top 15 of this tournament right now, and the betting odds would suggest something different when all's said and done. So we can talk a little golf. And then finally, it is a Friday. So that only means one thing.
What you watching?
Well, not only one thing, but one main thing at the end of the show. We give you what we are watching this weekend. We will combine that with a few banana plays. Yeah, that's what you call a hybrid, ladies and gentlemen. Electric and gas here on a Friday for the Rome Show. So we'll what you watch as well. It's a jam-packed show. We hope you enjoyed. If you miss any of it, you miss all of it, or you need to send it to somebody, excuse me, we suggest you do the Rome Show podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. All right, let's get into it on this Friday here. It is NBA basketball for the people. Last night, all right, first and foremost, the Denver Nuggets defeated the Oklahoma City Thunder. It was a really good game. Actually, OKC had an 11-point lead with about 2 minutes left in the second quarter. SGA picked up his 4th foul, and it all went downhill from there. The Denver Nuggets held the Oklahoma City Thunder to only 46 points in the second half. Not only are the Thunder one of the best offensive teams in the National Basketball Association, they are also the best defensive team in the NBA. And Denver, in the second half, did pretty much whatever they wanted. They were led by none other than Nikola Jokic, who was 9 of 14 from the field, 29 points and 14 rebounds. The Nuggets are now 6-0 in this postseason when Nikola Jokic has 20 or more points. If you remember my bananas play from 2 or 3 days ago, I said to you, there's been a hair of inconsistency on the points, but for the most part, Jokic is Jokic. And I think he's going over 20 And he did just that. And it is proven now for this Thunder team that in the 13 games they've played in the postseason going into their 14th, their 6 best, all W's, came with him scoring 20. So you got to feed him the rock. Jamal Murray, 25. Christian Braun, 23. How do you win championships? That's how you win championships, okay? You look at your stat sheet in the big games, and you see that there are players that you might not really think of on this team executing at a high level. There are 4 starters for the Denver Nuggets that have won a championship: Michael Porter Jr., Jokic, Murray, and Aaron Gordon. And then you have this Christian Braun guy, okay? Then you go to your bench, and you got a guy named Russell Westbrook. So 5 of the 8 players in rotation last night for the Denver Nuggets have played a lot of playoff basketball. But Christian Braun plays 39 minutes, scores 23 points, goes 3 of 6 from beyond the arc, picks up 11 rebounds for a double-double, and you can see why the Nuggets were able to win a huge Game 6 at home and force a Game 7. On the flip side, it's inconsistencies on offense for the Thunder. We know SGA is going to show up. He shows up every night. 32 last night, 11 of 16 from the field. But where's everybody else? Okay game from Chet Holmgren, double-double, 19 points, 10 assists. But then after that, Lou Dort, not great, 10 points. Isaiah Hartenstein, only 8 points. Though he was 4-4 from the field, just didn't assert himself that much. Jalen Williams, 6 points. And the bench only scored 30, okay? And that was very sporadic in nature. So if you're the Thunder, you just got to get back to a consistent offense. You can't have an 11-point lead with 2 minutes left in the first half. That turns to a 3-point lead at halftime, and then you lose by 12. That just seems excessive, especially for a team that right then and there, that's when you got to close the Nuggets out. You don't want to force a Game 7 against a team that's won a championship within the last 3 years and already won a Game 7 in this postseason. Tonight, you got the Celtics versus the Knicks, Game 6. And I got to be honest with you, I am amped about this game. Now, to be completely honest with you, I think the Knicks needed to win game number 5. All right. That game was crucial because this is one of those Celtics teams, though you are at Madison Square Garden tonight. Okay, so it's your home game if you're the Knicks. And the Celtics lost Tatum after game 4. Game 5 was a huge, huge game because you don't even want to give anybody confidence that they can play without their best player. And that's exactly what you did with the Boston Celtics on Wednesday night when they beat you by 25 points. Okay, so the first key, in my opinion, to this game is you need Mikal Bridges and Karl Anthony Towns to be Mikal Bridges and Karl Anthony Towns at like a high rate. Okay, we know Jalen Brunson's going to show up. Jalen Brunson is the most clutch player in the National Basketball Association. So he's going to show up. He'll be there Game 6 tonight for the Knicks. Where's Bridges? Okay. Where's Towns? Okay. And I'm not saying this in like a negative way. Okay. Because they're not up 3-2 against the Celtics if they're not playing good basketball. All right. But when you look at the stat sheet, Brunson, game 1, 40. Brunson, game 3, 32. Brunson, game 5, 37. Game 4, 37. Brunson, game 5, 34. Anunoby was the leader of points in game number 2. I'm looking at the wrong series. Even better. If you look at the entirety of the postseason, 6 games against the Detroit Pistons and 5 against the Boston Celtics, okay? Jalen Brunson has been the leading scorer in 7 of those 11. Now, I don't want to sound like too stupid radio guy, because I'm not trying to make the easiest dumb point ever. Of course, Jalen Brunson's the best scorer on the team. Of course, Jalen Brunson to lead the team in points, but Karl Anthony Towns is also that good. Karl Anthony Towns can take a basketball game over, okay? And one time in 11 games has he finished the day as the leading scorer, all right? So you need Brunson to be Brunson. Cat's got to have a double-double, 20 and 10 at a minimum. If you can get Bridges 17 to 20 with the lockdown defense that he's had all postseason, and then let the chips fall where they may from there. You need Josh Hart to execute. Hartenstein's got to get in there a little bit, or at least dominate the boards so there aren't so many second chance points, okay? But you're a Knicks fan. You have zero interest, in this series going to Game 7. Obviously, anyone with a 3-1 series lead has zero interest in the Game 7. But I mean more so than anything else with this series, okay? Because this is a Knicks team that in 4 of these 5 games, they've been down by 20 or more. Like, that's not normal. That's not the pathway to making it to the Eastern Conference Finals. And there's a lot of history pressure on the back end of this for the Knicks. They haven't been to an Eastern Conference Finals since 1999. Okay? So it's been a minute. 99, 2000, Patrick Ewing, John Starks, the finger roll that never went. That's the last time this fan base and this group of players with the Knicks uniform on has been to an Eastern Conference Final. So you're fighting a lot of demons right now. And quite possibly the hardest one in front of you is the fact that you had a 3-1 series lead and Tatum didn't play in game number 5. So it comes out to a hot start from the Knicks. Got to have a really good first quarter. First time I feel like all series they'd have a great first quarter. And then from there, you got to go. It's got to be a max effort. Karl Anthony Towns, Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges got to have their best game of the series. But more than anything else, the supporting cast of Brunson has got to show up. If you're the Celtics, it's one thing and one thing only. All hands on deck. All hands on deck. It goes through Jaylen Brown. He's got to play elite level basketball. But you got a lot of people like Derek White scored 40 in game 5. I don't think that happens again, but somebody, like we mentioned with the Nuggets, that you don't fully expect to step up's got to step up if you want to keep your season alive and you're the Celtics. The Knicks are favored by 2.5 in this contest. The total points is 210.5. Finally, we mentioned before in the open that the Indiana Pacers have already booked themselves a trip to the Eastern Conference Finals. This is the second straight year the Indiana Pacers have made the Eastern Conference Final. This year, they're a 4 seed. Last year, the Pacers were a 6 seed, when they made the Eastern Conference Finals. This year, when you look at the playoff bracket, the Minnesota Timberwolves are a 6 seed that made the Western Conference Finals. Well, this had me thinking, okay? Because first and foremost, the NBA has a 4 seed and a 6 seed in the Eastern and Western Conference Finals. That's awesome. Furthermore, one of the 1 seeds has already been knocked out, and the other 1 seed's on the brink of elimination in Game 7. That's awesome. Talk about parity. Talk about the play-in tournament working. Talk about the changes the game's made the last 3 or 4 years to create a not-so-top-heavy league working. Awesome stuff, okay? And so besides the fact that you have all those storylines, I started thinking, how many times has a 6 seed even made the conference finals in the NBA? Well, I have that statistic for you right here. Since the inception of the National Basketball Association, there have only been six seeds to make it to the conference finals. We go further. The last team to do it, the aforementioned Indiana Pacers last year. So 2 of the 6 happened in 2024 and 2025. However, prior to that, it was 30 years since the last team was a 6 seed to make the conference finals. That was the 1995 Houston Rockets. They reached the conference final and then went on to win the championship. Kareem Olajuwon, I think. Big time upset there on the way to the chip. So 3 times in the last 30 years, a 6 seed has made it to a conference finals, and 6 times total since the NBA was incepted has that happened. That should tell you 2 things. 1, how difficult what Indiana did last year and Minnesota is doing this year truly is comparative to the numbers in the history of the league. And then secondly, it should show you the type of parity that is going on in the National Basketball Association. This is good stuff. This is good stuff. You want that makes the game more fun, especially for the marginal fan. And I've always believed that the marginal fan is going to make a league the most amount of money. Okay, let's take simple math for a second here. We got about a minute before we go to commercial break. Let's take simple math here. Okay, 100% lines up the entire thing. All right, let's call it 25% of that 100 are diehards to the sport. They're going to watch no matter what. Their team can be the 2011 Lions that went 0-16, and they're still going to love the sport. That's the top 25%. The bottom 25% don't like sports at all, don't maybe like this specific sport at all, literally can commit themselves to watching 0% of this sport, okay? So the top 25% and the bottom 25%, that makes up half of your league's viewership, okay? But that middle 15%, or 50, is going to get swung every single year, okay? First and foremost, there are some of that 50 that float towards maybe being a diehard, maybe not, okay? So they're already going to spend a little bit of money, but a good season wants them to spend more money. On the flip side, there are people that are a little skeptical about watching the sport, but will watch it every once in a while. But if their local team's got something cool going on, or just in general, for some reason the sport's exciting and engaging, they'll watch a little bit more. So that middle 50%, that's where you make your bones as a league. And for the National Basketball Association, what felt like a 10, 15, 20-year stretch of just the people that like basketball are watching basketball. Why? Because all the same things you used to hear. They don't play defense in the regular season. There's no parity, right? All of the resting of the players, all of the things you've heard about basketball before. Now, is there still some resting of players or the rules have changed? Probably. Right? Is there still a little bit of top heaviness in the league? Maybe. I mean, depends on how you look at it. But last time I checked, when 2 number 1 seeds possibly get knocked out in the second round, there's got to be a lot of parity in your league. Okay. Is more defense being played? I mean, maybe not as much in the regular season, but holistically, overall, you can see a difference in basketball. And that 50% is really what I think takes your league to the next level or keeps your league stagnant. And I've complained about this with baseball all the time. You have the top 15% of baseball fans watching baseball. The other 85% are good. Unless like an extenuating circumstance comes on, like, oh, they're watching it with somebody, or there's nothing else to watch, or somebody gets them tickets to a game, or their team is good for the first time, or their team is good all year. Whatever the case is. Okay, so I feel like the play-in tournament, the parity, what the league looks like right now in the postseason is a really good indicator for the health of the league moving forward. More specifically, the health of the league with the people that are skeptical, the people that aren't fully basketball fans, that aren't fully in on the NBA. I'm fully in on the NBA, and I'm excited for Knicks Celtics Game 6 tonight, Thunder Nuggets Game 7 tomorrow night. I'm also excited for the second half of this show, as you should be. Let's take a commercial break. We'll come back. We'll talk hockey. We'll talk golf, and we'll talk what you're watching this weekend. It's me, Andrew Romanella. It's you, the listener. We are on 12OZ Sports, and we are back after this.
Welcome to MyBookie. You're ready to create an account and start making money, and we're here to help. And remember, you can get a bonus of up to $1,000 on your first deposit. Now you're ready to bet. Just go to mybookie.ag, visit the sportsbook, click on your bet, and input the amount you want to risk or win in the bet slip. Yes, it's that easy. Just remember, at MyBookie, you play, you win, you get paid.
Need tickets to that next event? Well, at 12-Ounce Sports, we've got them with soccer anywhere in the world. Tickets to any venue, any sport. Want to go to NCAA or NFL football matches? We've got them.
Yeah.
Baseball at every level. Every Power 5 matchup is available. Don't forget, costumes and paint are optional. What's that? You want to go to Broadway? We have those too. Want to jam out? Every concert, every artist. That's right, at 12 Ounce Sports, we've got the tickets for less. 12ozsports.com/tickets. That's 12ouncesports.com/tickets.
Yeah. The Rome Show. 12ouncesports.com. We broadcast live on YouTube and X. I'm your host, Andrew Romanella. We got 7 minutes left, 8 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. It depends on how long it takes me to get through these next few. It's a Friday, so at some point we'll end here today with what you're watching so I can get you ready for your weekend. Sports, tune into the action, YouTube or X, comment live if you want to. And if you don't want to, just follow the social media, The Rome Show 1, Instagram, X, Facebook, TikTok. You know the drill. All right, this is how the Hurricanes knocked off the Washington Capitals last night. 2 minutes remaining in the contest, and this happened. Doesn't matter how, just matters that it happens, and it did for the Hurricanes. And this was off the heels of the beginning of the third period when the Washington Capitals had a goal called back. Now, here is the goal. I'll put it up. Goal. Now, the stupidity of these replays is I could not find a replay where it shows the Capitals were offsides entering the zone. However, I at least got the fact that this was the call. Now I want everyone to understand how the National Hockey League works now. I'm going to replay this, okay? Caps and for their fans. They're in the zone. They're playing around with the puck. Early second period. Our season's on the line. We score a goal. Woo! Challenge. Bang. Offsides 22 seconds before, essentially, the goal was scored. And that right there, ladies and gentlemen, that right there is the difference between today's game, no matter the sport, and yesteryear's game. Instant replay, the opportunity to challenge, is in theory so important in sports because look at what happens right there. Now, hindsight's 2020. We have the opportunity to have seen the game play out before we dictate whether or not that call is super important or not super important. But the bottom line is, 6 years ago, if that offsides wasn't called in real time, we're talking about a game 6, most likely. Okay. Again, there are 37 minutes left in this game at this moment in time. So you cannot say that that goal would have dictated the Capitals winning. Not at all, especially with how good the Hurricanes are. But when you look at what played out after, no one scored again for another 35 minutes. And the Hurricanes scored with 2 minutes left to take the lead. Man, maybe that was the game-winning goal at the time. And you can't fault the officials. They're just doing their job. See what you see in real time. The coaches have the chance to challenge. Let the play continue. If the play continues and they score, throw the challenge. If they don't score, you don't got to use your challenge, right? And so that's exactly what happened. I think it's Rob Brendamore, the head coach of the Hurricanes. Fantastic decision. And I think that's the benefit of instant replay in sports. I think that is a prime example of why everyone should continue to work on the instant replay and the ability to challenge, because that's the only way you can keep true integrity in the game from the standpoint of getting as many calls right as possible. You're not going to get every call right. And let's say Brendan Moore didn't have a challenge. There's nothing he could do here. This stands as a goal. But I just kept thinking last night, wow, this is the prime example of the benefits of the replay system, of the want to get the call right. You go back and you look at it and you get the call right. Tough for the Capitals. Very tough. But big time for the Hurricanes. And now you got the Edmonton Oilers. They are in the conference finals on the Western side, and the Hurricanes are in the conference finals on the eastern side. We are waiting for the Panthers and Leafs to finish up. They play game number 6 tonight at 8 p.m. As Rocky has mentioned on the last 2 times he's been on the show, will the best line, led by Austin Matthews, show up for the Toronto Maple Leafs today? Can they get him going so that they can keep themselves alive in this postseason? They're in Florida for game 6 tonight. And then last night, the Winnipeg Jets kept their season alive again, as Rocky predicted, 3 goals in the third period for a 4-0 win against the Dallas Stars. Connor Hellebuck with a 22-save shutout. Lars Ellers with 2 goals for the Winnipeg Jets, and they stay alive and they push to a game 6. I've been saying it all postseason. Both sides, hockey and basketball, have been electric so far in the postseason. Finally, I told you I'd talk golf today for a little bit before we got out of here. The PGA Championship is going on, okay? And that is going to start one of my favorite segments of the week, which is What Are You Watching? Well, I'm about to tell you, Andrew. Okay, first and foremost, it starts with the PGA Championship, the second of 4 majors on the season in the PGA Tour. Now, coming into this thing, the betting odds were high. Scotty Scheffler, Xander Schauffele, Bryson DeChambeau, Jordan Spieth, Rory McIlroy. Those were all the dudes that coming into this tournament had the best betting odds to win. Let me read you the top 10. Jonathan Vegas, Ryan Gerard, Cam Davis, Luke Donald, Ryan Fox, Alex Smalley, Stefan Jaeger, Aaron Rai, Alex Noren, JT Poston, Rio Husatun, Nico Edvario, Matt Fitzpatrick. We could keep going because there's a bunch tied for 9. Robert McKinstry, Ramus Haggard, Egan Bradley, Terrell Anton, Michael Borgian, Rafael Campos. Tied for 20th, Scotty Scheffler. Aqua Hollows has presented quite the challenge for all of the betting favorites, and now you open up the 3-day can of worms where you're like, yo. First off, there's a high likely chance we could get a first-time major champion, which is awesome. But secondly, it also lends itself for some type of comeback, some type of heartbreak, all of the things you love watching on a Sunday. So the first thing
What you watching?
that I am watching this weekend is the PGA Championship, rounds 2 today, 3 tomorrow, and 4 on Friday. I had Scotty winning this tourney. Okay, he's tied for 20th. All right, didn't golf poor in round number 1, minus 269. Only 5 strokes off the lead. A lot can happen in 3 days. So I'm going to stick with my Scotty Scheffler prediction that does not count as bananas. We continue on with
What you watching?
Oh, you better believe I'm watching Celtics and Knicks tonight at 8 p.m. on ESPN. The New York Knicks are favored by 2.5 in this contest. I believe in the New York Knicks. So not only am I excited to watch Game 6 tonight, but I'm also going to take the Knicks at the -2 and give me Karl Anthony Towns over 20 points and give me Jalen Brunson over 25 points. Side bonus that will not count toward the official stat sheet. What else?
What you watching?
The Leafs and the Panthers, Game 6 tomorrow night. So I got hockey tomorrow night, Game 6, and I got basketball tomorrow night, Game 6. We just talked about this game and what needs to happen for the Leafs. The Panthers, quite possibly the best team in the Stanley Cup Finals, or Stanley Cup postseason left right now, easily could win the Stanley Cup. What type of fight you have from the Leafs? They've been trying to get the monkey off their back for what feels like 40 years as a franchise. Can you stay alive, bring it back home for a Game 7? We'll find out. I'm watching that. I don't believe in the Leafs, so my official pick in this one would be the Panthers straight up on the puck line. And then it happened last night. You might ask me,
What you watching?
well, I'll tell you, May 18th, that's Sunday. That's Game 7 Denver Nuggets at Oklahoma City Thunder. The whole time, I believe the Thunder were getting to the Western Conference Finals here, because last year they went through their playoff pickup as a quote-unquote younger team. This year, I feel like they're ripe and they're ready for the postseason, and no better way to figure out if you're ripe and you're ready but a Game 7. Now, why were you so good in the regular season? For this moment right here. So you could host the Game 7 at home. Anytime you have Jokic on the other side, it's going to be really hard to win that game. Thunder, they're favored by 7.5 points. I don't agree with that whatsoever, okay? Do I think they win? Yes. I think it's a close game, much like game number 5. And I think the Thunder squeaked out of there with a Game 7 victory. So I'm going to take Denver plus the 7.5, but I'm going to take OKC on the money line as my final what you're watching this Friday. I hope the people enjoyed the Rome show today. I mean, I had a blast, as I always do. Make sure, ladies and gentlemen, you jump back in here on Monday at 7 a.m. for a fresh week of the Rome Show on 12 OZ Sports. Follow the Rome Show on 12 OZ Sports. Follow 12 OZ Sports on all the social media sites. Get to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, and make sure you have an electric weekend. I am Andrew Romanella, and until Monday, I am saying peace.
Thank you for listening.